Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to honor my longest-serving staff member, my Chief of Staff, campaign manager, and close friend, Kyle Ruckert, who's departing the Senate at the end of this week to start an exciting new career. Kyle was one of my very first hires when I was first elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1999. He started as my legislative director in the House under the really wonderful tutelage of my first Chief of Staff, Marty Griesler. And I know Kyle and I are both indebted to Marty, who's now unfortunately deceased, for getting us started on a wonderful foot in Congress. And then Kyle became my Chief of Staff upon Marty's retirement in 2002. And I guess I would sum up the bottom line in a very simple but important way. There has not been one moment during these 17 years when I've regretted placing my complete trust in Kyle to lead our office and serve the people of Louisiana. Not one. From day one, Kyle set the office standard of service to constituents and set it as a top priority. He established offices throughout the state, and one of his most memorable decisions instituted a mobile office on wheels so that we could reach out to those hit hard by Hurricanes Gustav and Ike in 2008, folks who could not otherwise reach our permanent offices. I say memorable because for the staffers who actually had to man and woman that vehicle, it was an adventurous ride. Now, of course, Kyle's leadership style and commitment to service comes from his wonderful parents, and I take a moment to thank his parents, John and Ellen Ruckert, who are with us in the gallery, who I've also come to know and respect. I think also a big part of Kyle's commitment to serve others comes from his time at Jesuit High School in New Orleans, where the motto is Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam, for the greater glory of God, and where all students are expected to accept the challenge of becoming a man for others as part of the Ignatius tradition. Kyle's probably one of the best ambassadors for Jesuit, even played a role in my son, Jack, going there. Go Blue Jays. In 2004, Kyle moved down to Louisiana to manage my first Senate campaign. He quickly earned the respect of national political prognosticators on the campaign side, who quite frankly belittled our chances from the beginning. Kyle reacted to the conventional wisdom that we couldn't win a runoff against our so-called moderate Democratic opponent in a pretty straightforward way. He simply made sure we got more than 50% of the vote in the open primary, so we never went to a runoff. Problem solved. Kyle's discipline and strategic thinking are largely to thank for that win, and after that, he immediately returned to manage our Senate office as Chief of Staff. Unfortunately, our first major test in the Senate was a tragic one. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated Louisiana and was followed very shortly by Hurricane Rita. Constituent service, always a top priority, took on even greater urgency and seriousness, and Kyle led our team to help, to console, to serve, all for the greater glory of God, acting as a man for others. Kyle led our staff managing an effective operation, first and foremost assisting constituents on the ground, and then in Congress helping put together emergency assistance legislation, making sure that people in real need received what they absolutely needed. This was one of the most chaotic times for all of us from Louisiana, but Kyle was always calm and methodical. He always steered the ship with a steady hand. Kyle's leadership is contagious. His expectations are very high. Be at work, give it over 100%, get the job done. If that means working at night and on weekends, he would expect that of everyone on the team, and unlike some other so-called leaders, he would be right there leading the way in that regard. and our staff has become stronger because of that leadership by example and that contagious work ethic. Besides his calm, disciplined, methodical leadership style, Kyle's strongest attribute is his loyalty and trust he places in those he works with. He always encourages staff to take chances, to be bold in pushing new reforms, in negotiating amendment votes, in pushing important stories with the press. When staff would run ideas by him and ask him what he thought, he would say, if you think it's the right thing to do, go for it. Just don't bleep it up. His leadership was tested again on the campaign side in our 2010 re-election race, where again the political commentators largely bet against us, and again Kyle made sure they were wrong in a big way. We won that race by 19 points. Since then, I've had the real fortune of serving in leadership positions here in the Senate as the ranking Republican on the EPW committee in 2013 and 14, and currently as chair of the Small Business Committee. Aside from our many legislative accomplishments under Kyle's leadership, what I'm perhaps most proud of is the close-knit team we've built together. We call it Team Vitter, and those are more than just words in our office. We both look at our staff as an extension of our immediate families. Certainly my wife, Wendy, our kids, and I definitely think of Kyle and his family as part of ours. Kyle set the gold standard for thinking of staff as a family, for treating them that way, perhaps in part because he married another one of my former staffers, Linnell. Linnell started working in my office on the House side early on in 2002. She worked there until 2004 and then also joined that first winning Senate campaign. And it's interesting, Kyle and Linnell started dating secretly, not telling anyone in the office, certainly not me. I think they were first discovered when my first chief of staff, Marty Driesler, got a call from her daughter who had witnessed them being weekend tourists in Philadelphia together. Of course, I was still kept in the dark for months after that, even though Marty discovered their courtship. Linnell, too, always stressed constituent service and is a brilliant political strategist. They truly were meant for each other in all sorts of ways. And Linnell has continued her extremely successful career, most recently serving as Chief of Staff to House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. In 2005, Kyle and Linnell got married, and since then our office has had 3 other couples from Team Vitter get married. Perhaps there's more to those late work nights than I had imagined originally. Kyle and Linnell and their 2 kids, Jack, who's now 9, and Mary Kyle, who's now 6, are getting settled now in Baton Rouge as part of a new, exciting chapter of their lives. And it's going to be fun. We're going to miss them, but it's going to be fun to see this new chapter for Kyle and their family develop, especially when we get to see Kyle, who's a New Orleans native and an avid Tulane Green Wave alum, having to start wearing purple and gold around Baton Rouge at the urging of their son, Jack. Who knows, maybe he'll even develop a superstition before LSU games. Something a lot of folks don't know about Kyle is he is incredibly superstitious, knock on wood. He'll detour his Monday morning drive in New Orleans to pass by the Superdome if the Saints won on Sunday. He'll sip the same type of bourbon for good luck or wear his lucky green polo if we need a win, sports or political or anything in between. Tell you a quick story related to that about his green polo. On Election Day in 2004, Kyle was wearing a campaign T-shirt, but he wasn't going to be able to go to the polls that way to vote and do some poll watching. And so he asked around the office if he could borrow a different shirt, and Mac Abrams, who's now Dean Heller's chief of staff and who was a key staff member in my office and my campaign at the time, loaned him his green Polo. Well, we won that race big, and Kyle hasn't returned the green Polo yet, and he wears it every election day, although we're not sure if that's pure superstition or also because he's so darn cheap. Now, while Kyle will now be living in Louisiana, his impact will remain strong in our work and our office and our culture. He'll be able to see it in legislation which helped Louisiana and the country, in thousands and thousands of constituents who he and our team effectively reached out to, and in the great example he's set for so many staffers and interns and others on our team. So let me end really where I began, by paying him the highest compliment possible, repeating that there hasn't been one moment in these great 17 years where I've regretted placing my complete trust in Kyle Ruckert to lead our team, to lead our office, to help lead us in serving the people of Louisiana. Not one. Kyle, thank you for your service to Louisiana, for the countless hours you have spent helping me, for the fun memories and laughs we've shared, and most importantly, for your friendship. You truly are a part of my family. I have the greatest confidence that you'll continue on ad majorem Dei gloriam for the greater glory of God, truly a man for others. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.